Welcome to this week's episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. And today, our special guest is Dr. Serina Lewis Everett, a dedicated family medicine physician with a passion for delivering evidence-based healthcare solutions. Her holistic approach focuses on addressing both social and biological aspects of patients' well-being to achieve optimal outcomes. Doctor, it is such an honor to have you on. I'm so excited to dive on our topic
Yes.
today.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it and answering questions and connecting.
So, how can individuals incorporate evidence-based methods into their daily lives to improve their overall health?
Okay, yes. So I'm gonna take a step back and say what evidence-based is. So evidence-based is applying or translating research that we do, particularly random control studies. That's like considered the gold standard of research. We apply those findings from those studies to like daily care practices and clinical decision making. We also use those things to continually improve clinical practice, and so people can achieve higher care. And
Okay.
so patients can, there's a lot of evidence-based methods out there that I'm sure you've kind of even heard of at home. So there's no secret that bad habits such as smoking, physical activity, inactivity, and poor
Mhm.
diet contribute to the development of different cardiovascular diseases and increase your risk factors for stuff like obesity, high cholesterol, high blood pressure.
Mhm.
Um, but we also know that leading a healthy lifestyle can also reduce those factors, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
And,
one
helps
big
with the mind too. You know what I mean?
absolutely,
And
right,
your
mental
mind
health.
controls so much of your body.
I have a lot of patients that I see that say doing cardiovascular things and activities helps to reduce their stress, right?
Yeah.
Which goes to mental health, right?
Mhm.
So, as you kind of brought up, the first big one is like get moving. So we really should be doing about 150 minutes of some type of moderate cardio exercise a week.
Mhm.
Okay. In addition to doing some type of strength training at least twice a week. And
Mhm.
what exercise does at the cellular level, it allows our oxygen levels to go up, allows our brain function, as you mentioned, with mental health to improve. Your body functions better and you just feel better, right?
Yeah.
And there was actually a study that showed in Stockholm that the antidepressant effects, kind of the mental health of
Mhm.
running, was also associated with more cell growth in the hippocampal area in the brain, which is responsible for learning and memory.
So
So,
running helped improve that. Is that what I understood?
mhm,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm. And we
Running,
even underestimate how much like just walking can improve
absolutely.
everything. I mean, you underestimate it, but it can do wonders and it really helps your brain think, especially if you take an electronic free walk. You know what I mean? And I think that's important too. It's kind of, you know, limit our social device use.
Exactly. Which which goes along to our mental health, our body health, our body image health. I mean, the list goes on for
Yeah.
social media. And another thing that you can do that's evidence-based is feeding your gut bacteria, surprisingly. So
Yeah.
our gut biome increases our risk of it, incorrect gut biome increases our risk of like inflammatory conditions,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
And so
I
which
was
can affect our
diagnosed
overall
with,
health,
sorry, I mean, I was
right?
diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
Oh, wow,
So,
yes.
yeah, so I
Yes.
know how it's so important how
You
like
know all about this. You can teach
yeah,
this
I'm
segment
like mental
for me.
health with your like exercise and on but people underestimate how important your gut is to even just having energy for the day, you
Oh,
know?
yes.
And
Mhm.
yeah, so I just think it's so important and love to talk about gut health because it's extremely
Yes.
important and having great probiotics and antibiotics and supplements to help balance those things that you were talking about.
100%. So you hit it spot on, right? Right. So
Mhm.
the probiotic supplements, fermented foods like yogurts and
Yeah.
sauerkraut are good and have and plenty of fiber help with that gut health,
Hmm.
which is important to mention, as the reason to mention all the things that you said.
Hmm.
Another thing is like limiting sugary drinks, right? So sugar sweetened beverages have little nutritional value, and a robust body of evidence has showed that they're linked to weight gain and
Hmm.
increased risk of diabetes and cardiovascular disease and even some cancers. So doing more water, unsweetened teas, sparkling water, even coffee, and
Hmm.
limiting but obviously coffee with not a lot of creamer, right?
Yeah, the creamer is not good for you.
Everybody loves the creamer. I mean, I'm a guilty. That's one of my guilty pleasures. But
Yeah.
I've learned to do like almond creamer, right? A little bit like oat milk. You know, you go to Starbucks and you order oat milk and almond milk. That's the reason why people do it. Less calories, less
Yeah.
sugar. Another one is getting good sleep, right? So poor sleep can actually drive insulin resistance and can disrupt your appetite hormones and reduce your physical and mental performance.
Yeah.
Poor sleep is one of the strongest individual risk factors for weight gain and obesity. So
Mhm.
people who don't get enough sleep tend to make bad food choices, right? Like think about the people that work overnight, right? They're
Yeah.
eating snacks. They're snacking on like 24-hour McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
Higher in fat, sugar, calories, and it leads to like unwanted weight gain. So it all still kind of goes, right? We still kind of tying it back into weight and weight management and healthy living, but it goes into mental health too. So
Yeah.
getting good sleep.
You
So
know,
those are kind of the few that I had.
no, I love that. And I love that breakdown. Parents, you need The Addicted Child, A Parent's Guide to Adolescent Substance Abuse by Richard Capriola. It's a must have for understanding teen substance use and learning the warning signs every parent should know. The Addicted Child, A Parent's Guide to Adolescent Substance Abuse by Richard Capriola. And here's the kicker. Richard spills the beans on explaining substance used by today's adolescents and how drugs work in the teen brain. He's even included important warning signs for self-harm and eating disorders and how to find the right help for your teen. And the best part is, you're getting all of these mind-blowing insights without breaking the bank. If you're a parent or know someone who is, this book is going to be your secret weapon. Kindle or paperback, grab your copy on Amazon or go to helptheaddictedchild.com. Insights in this book are pure gold. And spread the word, share the love, and let's empower ourselves with knowledge. And so, could you share some insights on maintaining like women's health specifically? And, what like challenges do they like face today? In this
Yes, so a
style.
lot of women, so the biggest thing I see my women face is having the time because of the active busy schedule that they have,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so how do you fit and but still like trying to keep up with social media and be having like being thin and looking the best you can, right? So
I know all the pressures, right?
no pressure though, no
How do
pressure,
you
my
want
lady.
to be unicorns in the world?
The biggest thing to do, I know it's going to sound crazy, is trying to avoid restrictive diets, my ladies. Okay. Because
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, I want to go to the beach. So I'm going to do a 7-day diet. And you do the diet and but then you gain it all back after you do the diet.
Yeah.
Right.
What are your thoughts
So
on
it's because
fasting?
you go young. What you said?
What are your thoughts on fasting for women?
Fasting is good. So
Yeah.
intermittent fasting has been shown to reduce central visceral fat in our bellies, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And so that reduces your risk of diabetes and cardiovascular disease and high cholesterol. So
What's the best
intermittent fasting is
hours?
exactly the hours I would stick to the 16-8 if you can,
Mm.
because I think that's the one I see more often people use and they can actually adhere to it, right? Because if you're going to do something like that, you want to find something that you can actually adhere to,
Yeah.
right? Make it
Mhm.
like a lifestyle. And
Yeah.
I think 16-8 is easier to do than a little bit more of the restrictive hours that I
Yeah.
see some people do. But that's more like for people that are like they're working out all the time and they have the time to work out. If you're a
Yeah.
busy mom, right? You have a lot of busy moms,
Hmm.
then a regular intermittent fasting, maybe skipping breakfast or doing a breakfast with high protein and
Hmm.
then doing like a bigger lunch or a bigger dinner is better.
Yeah.
I think it's more easier to keep up and maintain. So then
Yeah.
you're not yo-yoing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that we tend to do that a lot. Like, anyone trying to diet and lose weight, they're doing good and then they always gain it back. It's like 90% always
Exactly.
gain it back. I don't know the exact, so don't quote me, but yeah.
No, but you're absolutely right. And that's why people kind of like you see, I know you see Ozempic and everybody's like, oh, I do Ozempic because I lose the weight, but then they lose the weight and then they gain it back and they're going back to the doctor to get Ozempic again.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's better to maintain and do it the healthy way if you can.
Yeah.
Another thing for my ladies, nurture your social relationships. So this is great. You have your podcast, right? Keeping your social relationships actually contributes to good mental well-being. And
Mhm.
studies show that people with better well-being, closer friends and family live longer, healthier lives, right? Than those who do not.
Yeah.
Another big one is meditation for my ladies. So
Mhm.
stress has a negative effect on your health, right? It can affect your blood sugar, your food choices, your reduce your immune system, contribute to like fat distribution. So meditating there's been scientific evidence that supports that meditation helps with stress management and improving your health. In
Mhm.
one study, it showed involving 48 people with high blood pressure, diabetes. In both of those groups, the researchers found that meditation actually lowered their bad cholesterol, which is their LDL, and
Mhm.
inflammation compared to people who didn't meditate. So that's
Yeah.
always an option if you're on the go, right? Pop on that Calm app, especially when the workday is crazy, and get to
Yeah. Right. No, yeah, pop on the Calm app. I know it is
pop on the Calm app, right?
good.
Put on a little brown noise, a little white noise. Um, Another thing is like taking your vitamin D supplements, right? So everybody's really into supplementation now, multivitamins. But my ladies, vitamin D is important. You hear me? Vitamin D is important for your bones, right?
Yeah.
Because unlike men, we lose our estrogen as we get older, right? Our estrogen is very protective of us when we're young. Like you're pretty young,
Yeah.
I'm young.
Mhm.
As you get older and you lose that, your bones get brittle, and that leads to osteoporosis, right?
Mhm.
So taking vitamin D, like a
Yeah, I should
supplement,
be putting that.
right? 2 to 3,000 units a day, and calcium, 1,200 milligrams a day prevents that.
Oh,
And
okay.
no, the multivitamin by itself does not do it, right? Because if
Mhm.
you look at the back in the bottle, it only has a little bit in there. You
Yeah.
have to do us ladies, specific to my ladies, my sisters. We got to do it separate,
Mhm.
okay? In
Yeah.
addition to the multivitamin, okay? And then we already talked about getting enough sleep, avoiding like bright lights. So you mentioned like the phones earlier, avoiding
Yeah.
those phones before you go to bed because that affects your sleep.
And I heard that like if I heard people, there was a study and I forget where I saw it, if people that stay on their phone past 11 p.m. start to can develop depression and stuff like that. Like it's
Yes.
good, like after you
Mhm.
need to cut it off by 11, otherwise it's just you could start to develop not very good thoughts and it really will mess up with your sleep.
100%.
Mhm.
You're spot on with that. And so, like you said, the bright lights can affect a lot of things. It reduces your body's ability to. I know you've heard of melatonin that you can buy over the counter, like the melatonin
Yeah.
gummies and things.
Hmm.
But having that like extra blue light, like you said, 11 o'clock, and digital screens and things like that, it reduces your body's way of producing its own melatonin. So we want to help our bodies do that. So
Yeah.
cutting off those phones, turning that phone off, turning off that TV at least 30 minutes to an hour before bed does help. So I
Hmm.
know everybody's busy and we all want to check our schedules for the next day and got to try to avoid that if all possible.
I
One
know.
thing I do is I turn on like white noise and it kind of makes me a little sleepy. So I like that because forces me to like turn off everything and kind of go to
Yeah.
bed.
Yeah, no, it's good to stay in those routines. All right,
Mhm.
Dr. Serina Lewis, I cannot wait to dive into the Power Mom Chronicles with you and figure out what your answers are and pick your brain a little bit more. So, my first one to you
Yes.
is what's a game-changing lesson life has taught you?
So, game changing lesson life has taught me is setbacks are reframed as learning opportunities,
Yes.
meaning that every setback that I've had in my life, I had to learn how to not look at it as a failure, but a learning opportunity. And even though I was uncomfortable at that time, I had to pick myself back up and try again at something, right? So
Mhm.
it made me become more resourceful and demonstrate resilience. Like
Yeah.
I applied to medical school the first time. I didn't get in the first time. And so
Mhm.
like learning what I did wrong, getting, reassessing and then getting back to it, right? And then I got in the next time. Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I've applied that to like every little aspect of my life, even when it came to dating. I'm married now, but even setbacks with that, because I know a lot of
Yeah.
my ladies are dating, right?
Yeah.
Or even when it comes to being a mom, right? It's
Mhm.
not gonna always be perfect. I'm
Yeah.
not a mom yet, but I have a lot of patients that are. And I
Yeah.
see a lot of kids and their parents, and they're always sharing that with me. Like
Yeah.
that they're constantly learning from their kids. They're constantly learning in their parenthood
Mhm.
journey. So I think that could be applied to anything. Mhm.
Exactly. And reflecting on your journey, what practical lessons or insights can our listeners apply to improve their own lives?
Yes. So get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable,
Mhm.
right? So you're never not going to be growing, right? So if you find yourself in a space where it's like, oh, okay, I'm used to doing this, I'm used to doing that, try something else, right?
Yeah.
Go after the bigger dream. But because if you look at the people like Jeff Bezos, they go for the bigger dreams by being uncomfortable, by doing something that somebody else might not have done, right? Which
Yeah.
can bring up fear and anxiety. Definitely can. Being uncomfortable makes
Yeah.
you anxious. But it's in those moments that you might be inspired to do something else. You might realize that you're going to move into uncharted territory, particularly with transformative dreams. But a lot of times that requires discomfort.
Yeah, I know. One thing I've learned about having the podcast from everyone, it's like
Mhm.
if you have a fear for it and a desire, just go for it. You know,
Right.
like it's not going to be
Mhm.
a smooth ride. Nothing ever is. And like you said, you're going to learn and navigate and, other ideas will spark up along the way. Um, and so my third question to you is offer a piece of wisdom for moms or anyone really,
Mhm.
striving to find their strength and voice.
Yes. So for my moms, I would say, especially because I have a lot of patients that are in mom groups, right?
Mhm.
Learn to filter the feedback of others, filter it out a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Because it can dampen your dreams and kind of your goals.
Mhm.
Especially if there's a real negative,
Yeah.
right? Like slightly off the cup remark to you about something about your dream or intentions.
Mhm.
You kind of got to learn how to filter that out. Still be open to advice and be mindful, right? Because that person really may be trying to help you, but you just got to use it and structure it in a way that you can use it for your own journey. And so remember just to always listen to your inner wisdom,
Yeah.
irrespective of what other people may think about your dream or your goal.
Perfect.
Mhm.
And the best advice you've ever received.
Best advice I ever received, go for it. So those are small words, but my mom used to say them all the time. And I've applied that to every aspect of my life, kind of as I mentioned before. So just go for it. When you feel like, oh, go for it. Like it's days that you don't want to do it, go for it. In the back of your mind. And so that's why I like certain poems like The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost or
Yeah.
If by Rudyard Kipling, because it mentions all of the journey that you may have and all the obstacles that you may have to overcome, but you
Mhm.
still want to go for it still, right? Because you want to be successful.
Yeah.
And that's really the only way to do that.
hmm
Mhm.
Well, that was such a great way to end this week's episode of Not Your Mama's podcast. Thank you so much, Doctor, for coming on and sharing all of your insights. All of her links are down below in the show notes. Don't be shy, go say hi, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Thanks for listening.
Bye, everybody. Yes.